morning, buenos días, and welcome to Urban Update. I am Alberto Vasallo. And on the program today, the Boston engagement of On Your Feet has arrived at the Boston Opera House. Now, this is a hit Broadway musical based on the life story of 7-time Grammy-winning international superstar Gloria Estefan and her husband, 19-time Grammy-winning producer Emilio Estefan, which is currently playing a limited 2-week engagement in town, and will have one of the stars of the show later on the program. Also on the show, the Teamsters and their work with children with autism, baseball, and so much more. Now, that's details in just a bit. But up first, over 3,000 men and women are released from Massachusetts prisons each year. And as it stands today, too many end up in shelters or on the streets after their release. Now, community-based reentry services that provide former inmates with the building blocks to restart their lives are the best deterrent to reoffending. But the availability of these programs and resources have been dramatically cut. Now, recently, unfortunately, many programs have either ended or have been scaled back due to loss of funding. John Larivee runs Brook House, which is a 65-bed halfway house for people returning from prison in Greater Boston, and is in danger of closing this June due to budget cuts. John and other community stakeholders are working on a campaign to fund these important programs around the state. Now, he joins us this morning, as well as our good friend, State Representative Byron, who is a leader in the criminal justice reform efforts here in Massachusetts, and a great resource for what can be done to save these programs.
Alberto, it's so good to be here with you.
Absolutely. I can't get away from the Byrons. How are
Thank
you,
you very much. Good to see you all.
Good, good. So I want to start with you, John, just to give folks an idea. You know, we hear the term halfway house, but more specifically, what are the types of services and programs that you provide, and to really who benefits from this?
Yeah. So again, our as you mentioned at the beginning, we provide reentry services for people coming back to the city of Boston and the greater Boston area from prison and jail. So these are people who have served their time and they're at the tail end of their sentence. And our job is to get them ready to live independently, civilly, and productively in the community.
So this has a greater effect, not just on that individual and their family, but on the community in general.
That's right, because they're, again, as we say, these are folks who are going to be in our communities, behind us in the grocery store lines, looking to do the right thing. And as we talk with them coming into the program, every one of them is minded to succeed. What happens is they run into challenges in the community. Some that we run into, but we know how to navigate around them. Some that, but they grow in frustration for them. So our chore is to help them get through those, secure stable employment, a place to live after they're done with the halfway house, and develop a program plan if they need mental health or substance abuse services. And so we work on that over the first couple of months, or the last couple of months of their sentence, before they're in the community.
Yeah. Now, I know you're a big fan of this advocate because...
That's right. This is a big thing for me.
It is, right?
But especially this year, because we have just finished passing a major criminal justice reform bill. And of course, that is a bill that is dealt with what happens at the beginning, right after, what happens after you have committed a crime, what happens in the middle if you go to jail and prison, and then what happens at the end. And so we are now re-looking at that whole process, and re-entry is an essential piece of it.
Yeah, and it's not an easy job, right? Because it's at the tail end, and sometimes we forget that these folks need that added help to get back into society.
Think about it, that you have been in a very difficult position in your community, and that means that you have probably done something that your community doesn't like, and now you're on the verge of coming out, and there are virtually no services for you except programs like this one. What if you walk out without a program like this, or what if you walk out and this program is not available? It means you are coming back to the neighborhood, which probably was a place where many of the problems that caused you to get into prison are still existing.
Wow. Now, this is a tough situation for you guys, right? Let's get to the problem here is you're closed, or you need some funding, or you may have to close down the services like other have had to do, right?
Yes, yes. Brook House, we operate six of these programs. 3 in Boston. 1 is closed, McGrath House, Brook House, and then Coolidge House. So those programs have been running for 50+ years. And in what we have found is that the sources of funding, especially at the state and local level, have dried up. That's usually been money that's carved out of the prison budget. And there's no funding dedicated to the reentry services. And so as prison budgets tighten, we become expendable, the services of Brookhouse. I think it's short-sighted, but that's the way it's been playing out. So, and as Representative Byron Rushing just mentioned, this criminal justice reform was all hedged on a recidivism reduction. Recidivism is the rate at which people who come out of prison go back. And we need to reduce the rate of recidivism, to reduce the rate of reoffending and return. And that's what Brookhouse is doing.
Well, I see why you call it now short-sighted, because this is kind of a very important step in preventing those from who are out to going back.
And it's a very important step, as you said earlier, in the whole safety of the communities in which we live in right now. Because what we want is as many people as possible coming out of these institutions and getting decent jobs and finding a place to live, not hanging out, but doing constructive things. And that makes the community more safe, but it also makes the community more reasonable about how we deal with criminal justice in general. Because if you think the whole system is messed up, right, then why should I help this one person? Because he's just going to mess up again, right? So how do we get a system that works where at the beginning we say, if there's some other way than getting you into an institution, we will figure that out. Right, but if you have to go to the institution, then we'll make sure that in the institution you are starting to get prepared from day one about how you're going to live getting out. Because remember, most people who are in our institutions are coming out.
Yep. Now, how can folks help? Because you do need help.
Yes, we do. And Representative Rushing, along with Representatives Carvalho and Cullinane, helped us very much in the House. And so, and Representative Sanchez as well as Chair of Ways and Means. So in the House budget that was just released, there's a line item now. There's a line item for these kinds of services. It's not fully funded in our view, but the House gave us $3 million. Didn't give us. This is
for statewide.
This is a statewide initiative which we and others would apply to for funding. So it's not an earmark. This is not for us per se, but it is an option for us that's available. Now we go to the Senate. So how people can help is calling on their state senators and asking for them to do similar. We're working now at the Senate level.
And it would be great to also have a signal from the governor that he wants to do this also.
So you're also appealing to the governor's office.
That's right. So we would like more money, but we certainly don't want less. And we want to make sure that people understand the value of this kind of program. And I think what we would be asking people right now is call your state senator and call the governor's office.
So call the governor's office, call the state senator to save Brookhouse as well as other ones, because if not, you find in June is going to be a tough month.
Yes. We've got some funding that gets us through June. Our organization that is carrying Brookhouse, that oversees Brookhouse, is losing a lot of money on this. But with the help of Representative Rushing and others, we know it's worth carrying that to see if we can get to this new fiscal year where there's a funding line item available for us.
And the goal here is to help these individuals, but the larger goal is to help the whole community.
Well, hopefully, in another year or less, we could have you back on.
Love to.
With a good ending.
Yes.
And we'll bring in some of the successes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, that's a deal.
Alberto,
Okay, deal, John.
Good
idea, Byron. You should be producing the show. All right, don't move, because in just a few moments, how the Teamsters Local 25 is connected with National Autism Awareness Month, which we celebrate this month. All the details right here on Urban Update.